This one's gonna be a beauty. Hey, it's Joe here. Today I wanted to talk about using the ER-301 to generate complex envelopes. The envelope you see here on the screen, this is actually not a sample. Well, I guess it is now. I recorded it into a sample looper, so I guess technically it is a sample, but it wasn't just some random sample that I grabbed off the internet or generated elsewhere. This envelope, this complex envelope, was actually generated by the ER-301, and this one is controlling the pitch of an oscillator. You can see here it's got a couple different wave shapes in it, including some modulation in the first segment over here on the left. So the pitch sounds like this. So kind of a whistling sound. So my goal today is to maybe give you some ideas on how to use the ER-301 as a complex envelope generator, and just kind of cover some of the concepts that you can use to build these with the units that are available in firmware 0.2. This whistling sound, it's maybe not a sound you'd want to make, but I thought it was a good example, in the sense that, the parameter that we're modulating here, which is pitch, you can hear that and kind of see it on the scopes really clearly. So I think, for demonstrative purposes, it's probably a good example. But anyway, we'll dive in here and gonna show you some concepts on how to, use the ER-301 as a complex envelope generator, that we can use to create and tweak and control complex envelopes in real time. Let's go. All right, so here on channel 1, I just have a very basic synth setup. This is just a sine oscillator. I've got the pitch and gate mapped to my keyboard with just a basic ADSR on it. So pretty simple stuff. Just set that up to save some time. So what we're going to do here is turn this into the whistling sound that you heard previously. So we'll do this by starting to generate some complex envelopes, and I'm going to start on the admin channel up here with a global chain. The only reason that I'm going to do this is because I already know that I want to route these envelopes to a couple destinations. One will be the actual audio destination, and then I also want to route them into a sample looper. And the reason I want to do that is just because that is going to kind of give the clearest view, a scope view, I guess, of what's going on with the envelope as a whole. So that's the only reason for the global chain. This could be, just created on one of the channel chains if you didn't want to do this. But anyway, let's get started. So there's going to be two envelopes here. The first one is going to be a pitch envelope, and the second one will be an amplitude envelope. So we'll start with the pitch. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a new global chain, mono chain, and we'll just call this one P. Pitch envelope for short. So kind of thinking about the shapes that we want to create here, these are really, I guess, kind of logarithmic type shapes. And the first one, rises, and then it just kind of falls off. And there's no sound for a minute in between kind of that whistle. So we're actually going to have to use a different amplitude envelope to control that. But just kind of focusing on the first branch of it, I think there's a couple ways we could do this. One is with the skewed sine envelope, kind of has the right shape. But for the first one, I think we're actually going to take a different approach here, just to, give a demonstration of how to do this. So I am going to, let's see, begin here by adding a custom unit in here. We've got Scarred King. Nice. I'm going to add a custom control to this. And this is just going to be a linear control. And I don't know, I guess we'll just call this EG for envelope generator. Enter. There we go. All right. So what I'm actually going to do is use a regular ADSR to create this shape, but we're going to modulate. We're going to put some feedback into the ADSR envelope. So this is a trick I picked up off the forums to give it more of a logarithmic shape. So we'll go into the EG control, and in here I'm going to put my gate. My gate is on G1 here. So we want this to be driven by the gate, and we'll put an ADSR in here. And, I think I probably want this ADSR here to be, I kind of jotted these values down before just to make the video go faster. But, when I was making this, I just kind of adjusted them on the fly and tweaked them as I went, listening to the sound. We're going to start this at 310 milliseconds. So this will give, we won't hear it yet, but this will just give kind of a linear envelope, right? But we want this to have a little bit more of a logarithmic shape. So what I'm going to do, and the reason I made this inside of a custom unit, we're going to come in here and we will take the attack parameter, and we are actually going to modulate this with itself, the output of this envelope generator. So I'm going to select this, and we're going to come up in here, and if I go in a kind of a positive direction, it should turn into more of a logarithmic shape. So let's just examine the output now. So you can kind of see where it's taken on more of a log shape to it. So that's the reason for that. So we'll come back up here to the top. Let's see here. So we've got this custom control, and now we actually want to use it. So I'm going to, let's see, come over here into the pitch envelope, and what I want to do here is insert a mixer channel. So we're going to use a lot of mixer channels in the process here, and that's how we're going to kind of combine different signals into making a complex envelope. So for this one, this mixer channel, I'm just going to take my my output from the custom control, the envelope generator. And I think, let's see here, we probably do need to set the gain on this to actually, get this control to modulate. There we go. So that's what we're looking for. So there's kind of the first leg of the envelope. So what I'll do is I'm going to come back into my user area, and we're going to take this and set this to modulate the frequency of the sine oscillator, which is the output that I'm hearing. So we'll come up here, and we're going to take this global control, and we'll set it to be the pitch envelope. Let's see here. As far as the gain on this, the value that I jotted down that worked pretty well for me before was 540. So let's just have a listen to that. All right, I think that's kind of doing what we want. So I mentioned I put this on a global chain so that we could kind of monitor the output of the entire envelope. So let me come down here. I'm just going to use an empty channel here, and I'm going to come and insert a looper recorder, and we'll go ahead and assign a buffer and create a new buffer. And I'm just going to use 4 seconds here. I don't think my envelope will be longer than 4 seconds, so that's probably a good place to start. We'll assign that. I'm going to engage the looper, and I'm going to turn the dub up to 100%, so it's constantly recording. And I'm going to come in here into punch, and with the new version 0.2 feature, you can focus press this and get a scope view of what's going on. Actually, before I do that, I need to just kind of roll back here and put in what I want to record, which is going to be my global, the pitch envelope generator. So let's go ahead and do this and punch it, and so in real time I can kind of see what my envelope looks like, which this will probably get more interesting as we go on. All right, so that's kind of the first leg of the envelope. Let's go create the second leg of the pitch envelope. So I'm going back to the admin channel here, and I'll open up my custom unit. And so we got the first leg here, and for the second leg, I'm going to go ahead and create another mixer channel. So we'll put a mixer channel in here. And for this one, this one really matches well to the shape of the skewed sine envelope. So I think I'm going to take the easier approach for this one and just go ahead and use that. So we'll go ahead and cause this to fire from our same gate, G1. But the thing is, the second envelope, which is the second part of the whistle, I don't want this to occur right away. This has to have kind of a delayed response, right? It has to come later. So in order to accomplish this, this gate signal that's coming in from the left, I'm going to feed this into a delay. So I'll pick the fixed delay unit. Again, when I was doing this before, I just kind of experimented here, but what I actually found was that a delay time of 660 milliseconds worked pretty well to emulate this whistle sound. And of course, we've got to set the wet up to 100%. So that's going to take that gate and just delay it by 660 milliseconds. One thing I wanted to point out here, the delay here only goes up to 1 second. So if you needed to make a longer evolving envelope, what I would do here is just insert multiple fixed delays in series, so the first one could be 1 second, and maybe the next one is 0.8 seconds for a total delay of, 1.8 seconds. All right, let's just set this back to 660. And then after this, I can insert my skewed sine envelope. So here we go, there's that. And let's see, the time that I found worked pretty well for this one was for 40 milliseconds. This is already the same Sacred King here, my custom unit and my pitched envelope. This is actually already set up to control the pitch of oscillator 1, and it's through these two mixer channels. So I guess first let's take a look at this. Let's flip back to the user area and just kind of watch this on the scope. All right, so we've got a little bit of a shape going on there. So one thing, I think for the first kind of leg of this envelope, we probably don't want the pitch to rise up quite as high. And I can control the amplitude of these individual segments with my mixers now, right? So for this first one, I could roll this down a few dB and get a little bit less modulation out of this envelope. So I'm just going to listen here and try it with a -3 dB gain. Okay, that's sounding pretty good for right now. So I think what we'll do, so we've still got this kind of constant pitch that happens, in between these two kind of humps of the envelope, if you will, and at the end of it. So what we actually want to do is create a second complex envelope here, and this is going to be an amplitude envelope so that we're only hearing sound, while these pitch envelopes segments are active. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go back here to my admin area and back into the global chains. And same reason I'm creating this chain here, just so that I can watch it on another, sample looper scope. So we're going to add a chain here, and I'm going to call this one AENV amp envelope. All right. So this one's going to be a little simpler, I think, but the same basic concepts apply. So here, really, what I want is two kind of, square boxy shapes, right? I just want this to be kind of on or off at the right times. So I'm going to start the same way with a mixer channel, and we'll go down into the mixer channel. So the first thing we need to do is kind of figure out how to create a square shape, right? So we'll go ahead and connect this up to the same gate, G1. And I'm going to go ahead and use an ADSR for this. And let's see here. I think the total time on the first one we had set to 310 milliseconds. So I want the total time on this amplitude envelope for the kind of that first segment to be 310 milliseconds. So what I'm going to do is actually split that time between the attack and the decay. So we'll bring this up to 165, and same for the decay. We'll bring that to 165. So if I go look at this, it's actually not quite creating the shape I want, right? This is, this is just an ADSR, so it's giving more of a linear shape, and we want this to be really boxy. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to go ahead and insert a limiter unit here. And I'll take the pregain and just, crank it all the way to the top, so it really just kind of forces everything to the top and clips the high signals. So I'll focus tap on that so I can watch this. All right, looking good. That's kind of the boxy shape that I wanted there. While we're here, let me just go back to the user area, and I'll go to another unused channel here, channel 4, and let me just go to my globals here, and we're just going to monitor this amplitude envelope. And we'll also insert a looper here. We'll create another 4-second buffer. We'll go ahead and engage the looper. Dub at 100%. We'll come here and focus press the punch. Start recording. And there we have kind of that square shape that I was looking for the first segment. So let's go ahead and assign this to the sound. I'll come back up here to channel 1 where my synth is. And I already had a linear VCA set up here. And its gain's already set to 1. But I had an ADSR envelope in here and a gate signal in here. So let me just go ahead. I'm going to clear this chain out. And instead of that, now I'm going to go to my globals and pick the amplitude envelope here. Okay, so what I'm expecting now is that, if I look at this amplitude envelope, I really should only get sound for that first ascending part of the signal. Excellent. Just like we expected. Cool. So let's come back to the admin area, and we're going to create the second leg of the amplitude envelope. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to put in another mixer channel. And same basic premise here. We'll have this fire off of G1, which is my gate. So here we know we need to delay this signal again, right? Because this is going to kind of create a second part of the amplitude envelope. And we want this to match up with the second part of the pitch envelope. So we already know what that delay is. So we'll come in here, put a fixed delay, bring the wet up to 100%, and we'll just set this to 660, just like the pitch envelope. Also same premise as the other part of the amp envelope. We'll come in here and insert an ADSR. And we're going to set this to half of the length of that. So that one was at, we made the second part 440. That skewed sine envelope was 440. So we'll just split that between the attack and decay. So we'll do 220 here on the attack. 220 there on the decay. And again, to get the boxy shape, we'll put this limiter and crank its pregain all the way up. And let's see, I think that should do the trick here. So let's come back to our user area and we'll listen to this and watch it on the amp envelope scope on channel 4. All right, so this is really starting to take shape. One thing I noticed that I think I actually wanted to, back here in the admin area, if I come back up to the pitch envelope and go in here, I think I actually meant to bring this second mixer channel down a bit and leave the first one higher. I think the first part of the whistle actually goes a little bit higher. So see where we can adjust these things in real time and kind of start to tweak the envelope to our preferences. Oh yeah, we're getting really close now. All right. Let's go back to channel 1. I am not going to attempt to make this the perfect whistle sound. That really wasn't, the intent of this video, but just to make this sound a little bit more realistic, I'm going to go ahead and put a high pass ladder filter here, and we're just going to bring the frequency up a little bit, and I'm going to definitely give it, a good amount of resonance here. We'll bring the Q up to maybe let's try 0.52. Cool. All right, now it's got a little bit more of a whistly sound. All right, so we're really very close to what I showed at the beginning of the video. The one other thing I wanted to kind of show here, and this is really kind of, I guess, an absinthe-inspired thing, is, modulating certain segments of the envelope. That's really one of the few synths where I've seen where you can really do that in a very easy way, and you can actually do that really easily here on the ER-301. So let's make sure I'm in the right place here. I want to be in the pitch envelope, which I am. So we're going to take this very first segment and just modulate it to give it kind of a cartoony effect. So what I'll do here is I'll insert another mixer channel. And for this one, I actually want to come in and insert let's do a sine wave. And I'll take its frequency, and I'm going to set it somewhere here at a pretty high LFO rate. So this is going to mix into our pitch envelope, and right now you're going to hear it. It's going to have a very strong effect, and it's going to affect the entire length of the envelope. So let's just listen to this now. So that kind of sounds cool, but it's not what I was going for. Let's see. Let's fix that. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that this only applies to the first leg of the envelope. So let's come in here and we'll put a linear VCA here. And I'll go ahead and set its level to 1. I'm going to make the adjustment to how dramatic this affects it with the mixer, which we'll show in a minute. So I've already got an envelope that covers this perfectly. So rather than recreating this, I'm going to use another 0.2 feature. So let me come back up. I'm going to go into the Amplitude envelope. And right here, this chain right here, starting with the ADSR, I already have this set up to, kind of perfectly cover that first section. So I'm going to hold down my Shift button, and I'm just going to select these 2 units and copy them. And we can come back up here now into the pitch envelope and come into mixer channel 3, which is our crazy sine wave effect. And if I come here into the linear VCA, I'll go ahead and select gate 1 again to be the driver. And now I can just paste these other units. So what we should hear now is that sine wave modulation only affecting kind of the first part of the envelope. In fact, let's go look at it on our pitch envelope channel. All right, cool. So that is kind of what we wanted to happen. I just didn't want it to be anywhere near that extreme. So easy enough to tweak on the fly. We'll come back up here to the global area. And this is all set up in mixer channel 3, so all I have to do is roll this gain down and just kind of tweak it to my preference. And we can take a look at what that looks like. All right, well, I realized that video is running pretty long, so I just wanted to, kind of recap here. So, we made a kind of a silly whistling sound with this, and, hopefully it was very demonstrative of, kind of how to build some of these complex envelopes. But I just wanted to, throw out kind of a starter list of some other potential targets or things you might be able to do with these envelopes. You could modulate the index of an FM carrier oscillator, or you could take it and use it to control the tape head position of a sample unit. You could adjust the start parameter of a manual grains unit. You could send it to an external module. I know you can't really get CV directly out of the ER-301, but if you haven't seen my other video, I do propose a technique for using an external envelope follower to be able to do that, and I think this would be a great application for that. So I'll link that video here. You could also record it into a sample looper, or using the 6-track recorder. You could save CPU potentially doing that way, or even save it for later use. Let's see here. So the other thing I wanted to do is just kind of review the units that we've used here. So we've used the ADSR, the skewed sine, the delay. We used one of the oscillators, but you could use obviously any of the oscillators that are there. We've used the limiter, the mixer. The linear VCA, I just wanted to call this one out. You could actually use this to sort of flip any of these other signals upside down and potentially subtract them from, for example, you could have an offset at 1, and then you could flip an ADSR envelope upside down using a VCA and sort of do a subtraction or get the signal to go the other way. So just kind of wanted to call out a few of those others, and I guess really, any unit in the ER-301 that generates any kind of signal could potentially be part of your complex envelope generator. So I think that's all. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this useful, and be interested to hear what kind of complex envelopes you're coming up with and what you're using them for. All right, that's it. Take care.